Welcome to Andy D. Cole's podcast. Please like, share and subscribe.
Welcome to Andy D. Cole's podcast. Press like and subscribe.
Welcome to Andy D. Cole's. Sit back and enjoy as we dive deeper down into the rabbit hole.
Hello, welcome to Wednesday, the 6th of September. I forgot what date it was. Sorry, everyone. Right, so we are just waiting for Laura to finish an interview that should be finishing anytime now. So we're just going to kick it off without her, and then when she comes, we'll just bring her in and we'll go from there. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you and hello to everyone that listens on podcast and all the new subscribers. Really appreciate it. And welcome to the co-host of today, which is Michael Kopf.
Thank you for having me.
You are more than welcome. So what we was discussing what we're going to talk about while we're waiting for Laura to come on. And sorry, Michael, was you going to say something?
I was just going to point out your new backdrop. It's like, is that a spaceship that you were on and took the photo from?
That was from The Awakening. It was just a backdrop that was there. So, right. Look, we're not thingy because Laura's here now, so I'm going to bring her straight on.
Oh,
okay.
That was fast.
Very
Hi,
fast.
guys. Hi, Andy. Hi, Michael.
Hello. Thank
Hello.
you for joining us.
Oh, yeah.
Laura,
good to
Michael,
hear.
Michael, Laura.
Nice to meet you, Michael.
Right, we are.
Met Laura.
So my computer charger has failed on me, so I'm using something else that I hope lasts. So if I blip out, that's why, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're all right.
Well, we are live literally by about 2 minutes. So,
oh, hi, everybody.
So it's all because you said you was going to run late. I thought, I'll get into it, get running.
Oh, right.
So it's all good. Just didn't want to panic you and you say the wrong thing or something. So,
Oh, right. That's easy to happen. So, okay,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm
So-
well behaved now.
welcome and thank you again for coming on. Such a pleasure. So, do you want to talk about your trip to the UK? Because I know you're down in Avebury, around the Stonehenge area in Wiltshire.
Oh, yeah. It's so incredible there. I actually got to go there 3 times. I went there before one of the events, stayed at a bed and breakfast that was literally like right there. Like you look out the window and all the stone circles are there. It was so
Wow.
incredible. Oh my goodness. And then ended up going to the Shine seminars, camped out
Yeah.
there, did a talk, and then went to Glastonbury, went to the stone circles again and Stonehenge. And then I went again the following day with different people. So I got
Yeah.
a nice experience for sure. It's just incredible. The stone circles.
Yeah.
Mm.
Did you by any chance meet Maria Wheatley?
I don't think so.
She does
might have been the
tours
person
around
that we were supposed to. I think I was supposed to hook up with her, and it didn't work out. We got the time wrong. Her name was Maria. I don't know if that was her last name.
Most probably, yeah. Well, she's on Friday, and
Oh, really?
she's talking about a new. But I met I was at the Awakening conference, the Expo Awakening in Manchester last weekend, so I actually got to meet her. So it was good to meet someone, and then they're coming on next week. So yeah, I just wondered if you managed to catch up with her or anything.
I saw so many people. I mean, if it was at one of the events, but we were supposed to meet up with the Maria at the Stone Circles.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite catch the last name, but you can ask her if that was what the plan was. And then we kind of
it most probably was a. So
Yeah.
anyway, so you had a good time.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it's like such significant locations. I mean,
Yeah.
and what Avebury Henge represents being the oldest stones in Britain, and the significance of that particular area with the ley lines and the Stargate energy, how much that's been manipulated throughout our human history with the reversal grids in that area in order to make it very challenging for us to connect into the sacred union, the Michael Mary, the Guinevere Arthur, the Christ-Sophia. So yeah, that whole line of energy going from Cornwall to Avebury to Glastonbury. I can't wait to go back to Cornwall. I mean, I was born in England, so I just immediately just felt at home. I mean, it's been 20 years or so. I'm probably even 30 years if I'm that old. Yeah, I am that old. When my granny passed away when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, oh my gosh, now I don't want to leave. And then I came home, and as happy as I was to see my husband, I was really emotional. Just like, we got to go back. I don't want to be in the States right now. It wasn't enough. So I'm actually going to go back on a book tour and back to Glastonbury event next summer. So I should be there a while. I might be touring around for a good month. And if you guys are in England, it'd be great to say hi.
Yes. So are you just going down to the Wiltshire? Are you going to be traveling around the UK?
Yeah, back to Glastonbury. Probably going to France and Germany for a book tour.
Yeah.
And then I'll just probably just go down to Cornwall and hit as many spots as I can. I still have a lot of family over there.
Yeah.
To see. And we went to London, so just figuring out the underground, the overground, and the buses was just, so fun. It's the little things, right? It's just being
it's the quirky stuff.
I know. And I used to, do all that when I was like 12 years old. I moved back when I was 12, and I would just run off and go to Piccadilly Circus and Covent Garden. And I know London has changed so much.
Yeah.
From when I was there. So what part of England are you guys?
So I'm Northampton, which is northwest of London. So if you had Luton, you had Luton.
It sounds familiar, yeah.
I'm 60 miles north of London.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to think of major towns and cities that you might have heard of.
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of them. That one's not as familiar.
No. Luton, Bedford, Oxford.
Oh, yeah.
Cambridge.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like in the middle of all them, really.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
So, my father went to Oxford, actually.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's like probably about 40 minutes drive from here. But Michael, he's from Texas.
Oh.
So he's near you. He's a lot nearer to you than me.
Nice. Oh, that's cool. Texas is a nice place.
And he's hot right now, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's a lot of good stuff happening there, I feel, right?
That?
Compared to most states, oh my goodness, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, we have a lot going on, and a lot going on that we should know about that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like we're kind of dealing with what the U.S. is dealing with on a small scale.
Mm-hmm. Right. Gosh, I hope my charge holds, you guys. Even though it's plugged in, it's not increasing. But let's just jump into it. And if for any reason that happens, I'm still fiddling around with one of the chargers.
Right.
So
yeah. So
it's all good.
Curious, Laura, what's your take on the people who say Glastonbury is the Avalon of the Arthurian legends?
I feel it's not just there. I mean, it's pretty widespread, right? I mean, I definitely feel that, that energy is strong where the stone circles are, and Cornwall, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of legend and mythology that is been kind of rewritten. And I've heard that there's a lot of different Arthurs, and it's more a title, kind of like the Christ energy is a title. And so the energy lines around the stone circles seem to be the major connecting point. It's considered like an umbilicus and a cosmic clock. And this is where the timelines are getting reset because the planetary grid network got really impacted around this area. And because it really represents, we see the titles of Michael, Mary, but it's really like part of the lineage of Guinevere, Arthur, and the Christ-Sophia, just that template, right? Glastonbury seems to be incredibly significant. I mean, the zodiac of the land, when you look at the round table and 12 seats of the round table, it's like the zodiac, right? And actually each night represented a different astrological sign. And it's funny because when you read about it, they're like, oh, this one guy who represents Scorpio, yeah, like he was really dark. And then the Gemini night had a twin, right? And
Yeah.
So interesting, the zodiac component and how that corresponds with our DNA, the Knights of the Round Table. And life was very different back then. And the Avalonian aspect, it's majorly that energy, but also Cornwall, I feel. And what's really interesting about Glastonbury is just, the mother energy, the maiden mother crone, just people going there to die and be reborn, and Cernunnos and the Green Man, and just the labyrinth, and the land being like the body of the mother, the goddess energy. And then you got Bridget, the triple god, just the history there, and all the different archetypes and names. And it just feels like it's really widespread, but it's all along these lines of energies, really, really significant lines of energy. And I'm learning more about it, right? Like next time I go back and talk, I'll feel that much more well-versed, because I met somebody really, really interesting named David Hatfield. He's mapped the whole thing out. And he lives there. He lives in a very, very significant location. And he just handed me a ton of material and CDs. And I'm just like, yes, this is it. And then Lisa Renee talks a lot about it, and a lot of like saying that Arthur was buried there and Guinevere. She says that's not true. There's a lot of kind of astral overlays, she calls it, that aren't necessarily, what really happened. But so the Avalon Cornwall energy, I feel very strongly. I did as a kid when I used to visit there. What are you guys' thoughts? What do you know? If you see me flipping around, I'm just working on this cord here.
Yeah, you're fine. You just carry on.
Yeah, I know that they were, a lot of the archaeologists were saying that Glastonbury floods, and when it floods, it fits the view of the Avalon being the island and the tower that's different from other towers in the area. So they were saying it's like an antenna or something. So I have to agree that and I love how you put the Arthurian was a title, because not many people, I think, realize that. They think it's one person and that's it. But yeah, it was, I believe it was a title.
Yeah. Right. And different like throughout time and space, throughout history, different expressions of that. It's lineage. I always see it like as lineage, right? And people still carry these kind of lineage energies. It's like a strong archetype also. So there's just so much there, and sorting out the different levels and layers of history that took place, because I mean, what used to be like all in water, and then the flooding and Lady of the Lake and all that kind of stuff. I used to just be so much more well-versed in this because I was like obsessed with it growing up. I just had all my attention on it. Goddess of Glastonbury is a really great website to refer to, Kathy Jones. And she really gets in depth. And so I really just see it as just an opportunity to really, connect into that, sacred union and the holy springs and the aquifers underneath. The Glastonbury Abbey has like 7 underground. And so the water, the healing powers of the water is so incredibly strong. That Abbey with Joseph of Arimathea, his presence and what he represented. So, there's a lot of, the stories of Joseph taking the Grail and the Mary Magdalene going over there after the crucifixion. There's just so much, and there's so many books being written. And I just think there's so many layers, right? So it's just such a fascinating place. And to be there was huge. And I just can't wait for more. And I'm really going to delve into it. I bring up a lot of it in my book, a bit of it. But I'm really, this is going to be one of the major focal points. And it used to be, right? And it's just about recapturing it all. Yeah. And just the Morgan energy, like the Sisterhood of the Nine. And I have actually, this is Saint Bridget, or not Saint Bridget, the goddess Bridget, who became Saint Bridget, triple mother, maiden mother crone. I should have brought her with me, right? It's like, what was I thinking? But yeah, we have a Celtic festival that is here every year, and my boys compete. One of them actually won last year. It was pretty cool.
Oh, excellent.
So yeah, it's really just like, I just feel the memories, and just it stirs so much. So beautiful.
So do you feel the energies when you go back, like when you went back this time? Could you feel the energy shift, like the positive vibes and all that?
Definitely. I mean, we carry it with us. It's within us. I mean, it's such a powerful location because it really influences the whole like planet, and the way that the ley lines and the stargates are set. It's just like a major focal point, though, particularly for like healing and grid repair work. Like the Nephilim reversal grid, the Niberian diotic crystal grids, and the checkerboard mutation that like caused our DNA to be very, very compromised to the point where, we age a lot quicker, we die a lot sooner than if we are in our full capacity. The masculine and feminine energies not being integrated, and the junk DNA. I mean, they place those harvesting, siphoning, reversal grid technologies in these sacred spots. So, there's been so much healing work going on, and dragon energies, dragon lineage connected to the lines that have been held in stasis. And they've actually been waiting for the Great Awakening so that they can emerge, but they kind of are relying on people to not forget. And there was a major agreement way back when, and I feel the Paladorian Covenant and rescuing the lost souls of Tara, how these ley lines connect to Hyperborea and higher earth energies is really, what gets stimulated. So when we are able to switch that on and really hold it in ourselves, it doesn't matter where we go, we can bring that with us. And because there's been all that repair work, it was, you feel it a lot more than maybe 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 100 years ago. I mean, because this is like 26,000 years of these dark technologies and reversal energies. But yeah, when I came back, I mean, Montana's gorgeous. Montana's beautiful. There's so much about the ley lines here and the energy. But no, I definitely felt the difference. And it just might have been me and my own nostalgia, and just like, oh, it's just not enough. And we need to both go back. I'm telling my husband, and he doesn't really want to travel much because of the madness of the world. But I'm really looking forward to going back, and I'm going to be putting together a lot more material on these locations. But I came back with incredible maps, and got to meet some individuals that live there that really hold just the knowledge, the ancient wisdom, the great understanding of what it's all about. So that was really cool, and I'll meet back up with them.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you had a really, really good time.
Oh, for sure.
Right. We've got a few questions for you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, charger. I don't mean to look distracted here. Okay.
No, you're fine. The screen's froze anyway, so we can still see you. So it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do them in certain order. First one is from nickname. Is does Laura feel recharged? So after going to Glastonbury and Avebury and now around the area, do you feel all charged up?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a process of really wanting to, it kind of shifts your energy, right? So I've been sleeping a lot, and just I mean, I feel somewhat recharged. I mean, I feel spiritually recharged physically.
Yeah, I think that's what she meant.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And I knew that would happen. I've been in so need to go back. I mean, not just it being my birthplace, but when I did get past life readings read, it was always going to Avalon in these times. And so I and just the people, just everything. But it's given me like a major motivation to like go back and spend more time. But I do feel the spiritual recharge. And I mean, it's really what it's all about. And I have been writing about it and talking about it so much in my life, my books about these sort of things. And so I added a lot more when I got back about that particular, trip and things about the stone circle,
right.
significance of it all.
I was going to ask you, have you already started writing the book?
Book's done.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, when's that due out?
It'll be out in March.
Oh, so not long. So what, 6 months?
Yeah, I'm still here, you guys. I just have to look in my computer bag for an adaptive. This is
No, you're fine.
Yeah,
don't stress.
My book is out in March. It's called Awakening the Truth Frequency. And it's really about, is there really one truth, or is it about living our truth? And when we live our truth, we go through the initiatory processes we need in order to become more soul-centered. And if we're not living our truth, it's very easy to miss out on those greater initiations. And it's about that. It's about hidden information I found out about Eisenhower's administration and where rewritten history has made it very, very difficult for us to heal as a humanity. And I sort of refer to how, if we're trying to heal from our own childhood, how are we going to do that with false memories? I mean, we need to get to the bottom of things, right? And understand what's been going on. So it's geared towards just that, and understanding what this window period is all about, with the ether energy, and the ether energy being the great purifier, right? So as of 2010, the sun started to move through the 13th sign of Fiacus, and that represented a really incredible shift. And same with the Venus transit. So when we want to look at the proof behind ascension energies, I try and get all that information gathered for this book, so that, we can recognize where these astrological alignments are being weaponized and inverted, so that, we experience the psyops and we end up missing the mark, and we don't end up doing the greater work that, and when I say greater work, it's like really about aligning and, trusting and flowing with these cosmic and natural forces that, oh, I think I found oh shoot, no, I didn't. So it's out in March. I'm really excited. I wrote it a really long time ago, and it got majorly hijacked, and then I sort of resuscitated it. So it's sort of like when you break a vase or a clay bowl and you glue it back together. It's not quite the same, but maybe there's more to it than would have been if I put it out earlier. So it's kind of wild, like the evolution or the process of it all.
Right. Okay.
Losing something like that was pretty devastating, and then to get the momentum back, once
I know what you mean.
Like, why bother? But I did, and I made it happen, and I'm excited about it. I just hope my parents don't read it. That's all.
Has it got a lot of?
Sorry,
I was going to say, has it got a lot of family stories in there then?
There are some, but they're not, anything that would make, I don't think it's anything that would make anyone uncomfortable, but I think the level
nothing
of what I
outrageous.
expose is more the issue. I mean, I talk very highly of my family, and it's all true how I feel. But, everything that I've come to understand has been my own venture, and it's just not something that they look to explore. So, they don't follow my work, and I don't expect them to, but if they see it out, they're going to be like, oh, what did our daughter write? And it's like, whoa. Yeah. So it'll be a little bit awkward, but I surrender to whatever, ends up happening as far as all that's concerned. It's pretty gentle as far as if a person's never heard this kind of information. I think, I did my best to not just throw a bunch of scary fear-based stuff without having just the solution and the things to feel really encouraged and inspired by. So hopefully that came across.
Yeah. So what's the name of the book? Are you able to tell us?
Yeah. Awakening the Truth Frequency. Okay.
So I'm just going to ask Joe the mod. Can you put that in the chat, please, Joe? Thank you. Right. We've got another question for you. It's a bit off what you've been talking about. But I'll do it now. So this is from Project Umpra, the Hat Man Project, and they're asking, has Laura seen the Hat Man?
The Hat Man. The Hat Man Project. I have not seen it. What's that all
Right.
about?
So the hat man is like a shadow person, but he wears I think, is it a Ferrador? Is that correct, Michael?
I think so.
Fedora, that's it. He wears a
Fedora.
fedora hat, and a lot of people see him like, it's kind of like when you're just drifting off into sleep, or while you're asleep, you'll wake
Yeah,
up.
I've seen documentaries of like similar, like Slender Man, like kind of.
Yeah.
And some documentaries that I think included that, but it wasn't completely based on it. So what is his thoughts? What has he experienced that?
He's asking if you had any encounters.
I have not. Nope.
No.
What about him?
Oh, yeah. Project Umbra, have you had any encounters with the Hat Man? If you can put it in the chat and then we can relate back to Laura, that'd be great. Thank you. Oh, he's just put, yes, my sister and I experienced it.
Oh, incredible. Was it scary, or like was it like?
I don't know. I'll wait for him to put it in the chat and then I'll just pop it up on the screen as we go. So I've got a couple more questions. The next one, so this is from Nickname. The Nickname lives down in Wiltshire, not far from Stonehenge. So she's asking, what did you enjoy the most in the UK?
Honestly, I think the stone circles. It's just so incredible, and the green grass, and just what they represent, and just holding, just sitting up against them. And then there's just this incredible beech tree with unbelievable root system, and just everything that's taken place in the land, and just really feeling into it. There's no way to really say what was my favorite though. But I think that was the most like wow when it comes to the land. I mean, just going up the Tor, climbing up the Tor, being with my sons was amazing to be there with them. They just really they've always been amazing. Like when they were little kids, they would spend hours and hours and hours like at a museum, even when they were little. So they're just so intrigued, like sometimes I don't know, not necessarily just with kids, but they might just get bored, or like, I mean, my kids are old now, but I'm just glad at the age that they are, and even when they are younger, that they have such a strong like calling, like fascination and interest. So that was really fun to witness. And the people just, this one person, like I said, David Hatfield, going to his land. And he's got like this stone circle house, and it's like a shrine, and it's all these artifacts. It's like the most amazing museum you've ever gone into. And he calls himself the Naughty Gnome, and he's the one that wrote some books and some CDs. That was like a huge highlight to be able to spend time with him. And well, thanks, for asking all about it. I'm still there's still so much that I'm reflecting upon. But I got back, I think the 22nd. And so there's going to be an event end of September in Glastonbury. So might as well do a shout out now if you guys are able to come. And I got a standing ovation. That was nice because, I'm sitting there like, I know.
Congratulations.
When you, oh man, I hope I didn't biff that. And you're all just, because that's kind of what's in the back of my head when I'm doing a talk. Like, oh man, this is just not coming out like I'd like. And then boom, everybody's just like, yeah. I'm like, what?
That's what you want.
Yeah.
That's what you want though, isn't it?
Yeah, I certainly, I that means a lot. Yeah. Like never expecting of that at all. So that was really cool. And so it's a lot because it's hard to not get pulled into the horrors and sadness of what happened in Maui, and that happened around the Lionsgate energy, right? So I was right there at the springs, the Chalice Wells, and then not too soon after, hearing about the news in Maui. I just kind of went into a bit of a funk processing all that, but
Yeah.
That's just what we do when all these kind of crazy events
Yeah.
hit. It's unbelievable it's still happening to the degree that it is. But I did a really eye-opening interview with Simon Parks. You can find on my Rumble.
Yeah.
And what he had to say about it was pretty interesting. But
Ah.
so many highlights. I just love England. I just, it's scary though. The roads. I know you guys are used to it, but it's like these one-way, like curvy, hedges and stone walls on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. So me and my friend Apollo, she rented a vehicle, and oh my gosh, going down the wrong side and almost getting hit by a lorry.
Oh.
I don't know how you guys do it. It's like, seriously, like, I don't know how you handle these roads with all the pubs everywhere too. Aren't people a little?
I drive for a living as well.
Oh.
So I do like 10 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
So
Right?
I'm just used to it.
Right.
I love to
more on the
drive.
highways, like, what's that, Michael?
I said I love to drive, but not in England.
I feel like Russian roulette. I mean, it's just nuts, but they're so good. It's just like, it's in the flow. It's like there's energy that's just like supporting it. Just sort of like when birds all fly, they don't bump into each other. They know what they're doing. It just reminds me of how energetic we are, and the timing of things. I mean, there wasn't a bunch of accidents. I mean, going down like Highway 1 in Baja, you see like a cross or a shrine like every 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Scary road, but not in England.
Well,
not to say that people don't know what's happening in Baja.
Yeah, there are a few of them over here.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not nice to see them, but
no.
Part of everything that happens, isn't it?
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yep. But yeah, so a huge part of my book is there's a lot about Eisenhower's administration that I've discovered. I don't know how much I talked about it last time I was here. There's just so much information that you'll never hear in the disclosure communities. And of course, and everything with discernment, but it's pretty interesting what I've discovered about Project Paperclip, about I think I mentioned the unconditional surrender agreement. And because, when you really connect the dots between the things that have happened on an exopolitical level, it really ties into the things that have been trying to get in the way of us awakening, and who have been the ones that have been helpful and been of assistance. And so, yeah, it's kind of a hodgepodge of all sorts of things, and hopefully the dots all connect. I've read through it enough times. I'm feeling pretty good. But
excellent.
I got the finally. What's that?
Are you going to be sharing in the book your visits to the lunar bases and the Mars bases?
I was recruited to go to Mars. I didn't go off planet. I mean, I might have been off planet, but this is not like an experience that I was pre-targeted before birth to go on the timeline, in an alternative 3 scenario timeline of being a permanent colonist. And they utilized looking glass technologies to locate me and a partner that I was with in a past life, so that after they yanked him into the program, which was more a think tank, or what they call themselves as a think tank called the Avebury, that they would have him come and get me to bring me in and use him as bait, knowing that we already had a connection in a previous lifetime. And therefore I would easily like fall for him. Right.
Right.
But I still like refused to go. And so, yeah, they're connected with my labs and psychotronic weapons and gang stalking, but that wasn't really the tactics they used on me. That was more like what they've used as a general rule with the ones that they brought in. So when you think about my lab's military abductions and that kind of thing, yeah, that's what they're affiliated with, but they sort of cover their bases so it doesn't look like that on a public level. And I realized that was going on. Same with artificial telepathy. Like, he was getting messages that weren't legit. So I had to just
right.
Why would they want us to go on to Mars? And that's when I started to call out the dark weapons, the weather modification, geoengineering, superstorms. Like, okay, in the event of a catastrophe, well, is that really natural? It's engineered, right? So why would I want to go off and go along with some fake scenario? And if it was really important for me to be there, I would have been able to talk to more of them. And it was all just very hush hush. It wasn't worth it. Then I started to align with folks like Andrew Bishago. He's teleported to Mars, right? So he was in Project Pegasus, and some of the other SSP whistleblowers and Randy Kramer that was on the Mars Defense Force.
Yeah.
And he was on the, Mars colony bases. And so you'll see me like talking to a lot of like SSP whistleblowers and super soldiers. But no, that's not what I went through. I wasn't in MK Ultra or any of the SRA stuff. Actually, Eisenhower, it's a very different family, a lot of presidential bloodlines and a lot of Illuminati bloodlines. And those that are affiliated with that or like recruit or target people. I wasn't pulled into that. And I did a lot of hypnoregression just to be sure.
Yeah.
Just in case. Because I'm like, well, there's a lot possibly pointing to that. And I would want to just be thorough and be sure. And so it doesn't, that's not really a part of it, but they did that to him.
Right.
And that's why they used him. And he was not in possession of himself. So he would get like a phone call and disappear for days, and there was definitely, that's when I started to learn about altars, and he would refer to a handler. And I think I talked about this a bit. So in the previous show, I don't want to repeat, but yeah, I wasn't in those locations. Right. I'm not like a person that is telling stories about what was on Mars and what was on the moon. I talk about it though, as far as our galactic history. But there's reasons. The alternative 3 scenario was set up in the Eisenhower administration. And I think because they knew I was going to expose a lot of the things that they wanted to keep in secrecy in order to steer a false narrative agenda, they just had me targeted. Like, let's just take her off planet, or I don't know. There's also something about the Christ-Sophia stuff I'd be revealing. We all hold that template, but I was like so bent on exposing it. When one of the defectors said that it had something to do with that. So I don't know. I won't go on, but that's part of some of it.
No, thank you for answering. Really appreciate it. Because I was going to ask you, do you know why you was targeted? But you kind of answered it with what you know and what was never disclosed from your great-granddad. I'm guessing that's what you think is the main reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely there's a reason in the fact that I'm related to him. I don't see why else they would.
Yeah.
You'll see in my book, a book that was handed to me, and it was given to me by this woman who really felt that the person in the book that they were talking about was me, because they said that Eisenhower helped these star beings, and it had to do with the migration of very advanced souls that would come in 1952, and a whole bunch of us, right? And I think any of us, I mean, the word advanced almost sounds like, oh, we're higher, better. No, it's just like a little bit more awakened to your mission and the greater work, right? Which a lot of us are doing. And they said to Eisenhower, we're going to put one in your family to expose the truth. and somebody, one of the Mars recruiters said that he was briefed about me being born, and it wasn't until later that somebody handed me the book. So then that kind of solidified what I was told. And that's why I was pre-targeted, because they were waiting for that kid to be born. Right.
Right.
and the only thing that makes me whatever is I just have a loud mouth, and I'm very much all about getting to the truth. As far as advanced, I don't know. I'm not very, I mean, I think we all have advanced abilities that we're looking to switch back on, but I was definitely switched onto the mission. I'll say that. And they were aware of that, and I believe that is why also they wanted me off planet, because it's like, let's divert her, especially with the target date around 2012. That was a very significant period, right?
Yeah.
And so it was wild, because when that was the target date to go to Mars, I was actually a speaker at the Star Knowledge Conference, and it's the same Native American group that was connected to the book that was given to me. And I was at the College of the Siskiyous, where right underneath College of the Siskiyous was the Mars training program that Andrew Bashaga was a part of, in Project Pegasus training program for Mars, right? And here I am looking at the Venus transit in 2012. I was, almost dragged to Mars, and that was like such a huge feeling of victory, like, whoa. So,
there's a lot of synchronicity in that.
Mm-hmm.
Just that one day.
Totally. It was huge, because I went to that co-op, and it wasn't like there was just a group of people heading over to the College of the Siskiyous to look at the Venus transits through the telescope. And a huge part of my book is about the Venus transits and this being very significant. So why would we need to evacuate the planet when the Venus transits, the Mayan prophecies, a lot of indigenous cultures talking about this particular period of time, this ascension window period, would that make any sense, right? And to be at that location, looking at the Venus transit with the Star Knowledge Conference and the connection with the, Lakota, Nakota, Dakota, Sioux Nation and star beings that were a part of this exchange of energy, it later hit me. I'm like, whoa. Well, it hit me when I was there, but then the book, when it came later, I'm like, okay, now it's all kind of making sense. And so, yeah, that's all in there and tries to explain, some of that. But no, I know we're going to go beyond this planet, but we want to do it in a very different way. And if it was so important, because sometimes you question yourself, like, shoot, was that benevolent? I think there were aspects of it there were a lot of well-intentioned people that thought that that was the best thing that we could be doing. And in light of what we're seeing with the New World Order and the directed energy weapons and the fact that they're not trying to give up, but there's been so much infiltration and there's been other things put in place, like an outer barrier put around the planet in 2014, connected to what Eisenhower and Val Thor and the Guardians helped to set up. So that's in my book too. So it's like, I'm just putting it all out on the table. But yeah, it's the Guardians. Through Val Thor, Ike was able to petition to intervene without saving the day. And what they did is put an outer barrier to keep any more from coming in and to keep those that are a part of this negative alien agenda from being able to leave. So they're sort of being cornered. I feel that is why they're using every last ditch effort to completely compromise us. But they were going to do it anyway with far greater ramifications if this hadn't taken place. So it's still a very, very difficult period right now, though. I mean, I think we all are feeling that, right?
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just, but they're exhausting themselves too, and it's just they're shooting themselves in the foot. It's creating more and more, awakening. Fortunately, so
yeah, which is good for us.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's what we need, them to keep messing up and, like you said, waking people up while they're doing it.
Right. Like even if they try a fake alien invasion, it's probably going to be so poorly done, like the worst B-rate movie. Like it's going to just be so obvious. I mean, it already is, but to do that, there's probably going to be some major glitch because they're so weakened. They're weakened way more than we can imagine. And there are a lot of positive forces that have just taken down enough of it all for it not to be able to push itself on people in a way that they might have. And I mean, and then the biggest factor is those that are able to see through it, not just the military operations. So, I mean, the two are working in tandem. And so, yeah, it's pretty wild.
Just a little bit. Right. We've got a couple more questions. Well, I've got quite a few actually. Michael, do you want to read them out?
Sure.
I'll pop them up on screen and you do the talking. You ready?
I'm ready.
There you go.
So Sober Carper is asking, hi Laura, do you have to be careful what you talk about? And I think she already addressed that.
I can go a little bit more into it. I am not careful what I talk about as far as a public person. I mean, I started to become careful because I had lost some channels. And even when I attempted to be careful, then I got banned for life. So, I mean, I just did just astrology on a secondary YouTube and it got struck immediately. So I hope my presence on your channel doesn't cause any issues. Sometimes it's the kind of thing where, I mean, I haven't, right? Did you get any strikes for any previous shows I've done here?
No, all good.
Okay, good. And I'm not really sharing much more than what I've already shared. So yeah, I have to be careful in that light, but at the same time, I'm not going to censor myself. I'd rather be kicked off the places that don't accept what I have to share because it has nothing to do with conquer and divide, has nothing to do with hatred, has nothing to do with anything but love and unity. And it's not what they claim it to be, which is bullying, harassment, and going against community standards. I'm just, a part of a presidential family that had a lot of influence over humanity, and that's got to be a huge sign for people and understanding like where we are as a humanity. I mean, and all the different types of people that they choose to censor. So I'm very careful about what I share. I've been careful in this broadcast. I'm not saying any of the, you know, so I have to be careful there. But as far as like family, when I go to family gatherings, you definitely don't want to, when I was younger, it's like, yeah, if you give Laura too much champagne at the dinner table, I'd end up at the kiddie table no, it wasn't even about champagne. I'm just sort of kidding. No, but I would bring all this stuff up, right? And what I've come to understand is it had to skip a generation. It was way, way too dangerous for my mom, my aunts and uncles, or one uncle, to be able to talk about this stuff. And I feel they might know some things, but to pass it along to us, knowing what they know, knowing the ramifications, knowing the dangers that come along with it, I think they've really pushed for us just being a happy family. Like David Eisenhower will always bring over the karaoke machine. And it's so funny because, I mean, you know, it's not like everybody's showing up in a limo or like some bit, you know, it's like a tiny cabin in the woods, and everybody works so hard, and there's no just that elitist BS, right? So just to see the family and just the love we all have for each other, and just how down to earth it all is, it's so interesting to just have that experience, to be kind of first witness to that. So yeah, David brings over the karaoke machine, so it's fun to sing Led Zeppelin for the Eisenhower family. Just like, but yeah, we've decided, I think we all have an agreement that we've got a lot of, you know, kids and cousins, and, you know, when I was younger and growing up in it, you know, I would spot things and want to share things and say things, and it wasn't like it was totally rejected. It's just like, well, and I asked the questions I could ask, didn't get much response, and what I feel is like a support from a distance. Like they know that I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and they're not rejecting of it. It's just they can't really engage in it. It's more like we love each other, we support each other, but we're not going to get into these greater conversations. So it's like I do me, they do them, and hopefully the result is each of our own unique missions, you know, as a whole, cover a lot of bases. So, but I am careful because I just didn't see that it was useful, because I'm going to meet the people I meet. I'm going to just continue doing what I do, and if they're not able to disclose any information that would help me answer some of the questions that I had, then, you know, it's like I'm just going to have to be on my own personal quest. Because I would think, and when I was growing up and I was getting familiar with these sort of topics and I was going through my own experiences, well, they must have something that they can give to me, or some sort of validation. There must be something that, but what I found out, and my mom actually wrote in her book called Breaking Free, a Memoir of Love and Revolution, that Eisenhower put a time capsule in the Gettysburg Farm, but it's not to be open until 2050. So every time I go to the Gettysburg Farm, I want to bring like a sledgehammer. Like, look, I've been exposing a lot, and I'm not really too concerned.
But I want to find out.
I know, like a dowser. Like, okay, which wall? Like, so if you guys want to create an expedition, no, they wouldn't. I'd probably be put away for vandalizing the Eisenhower farm. But I just have to pull that quote out and be like, you know. So 2050, I think, I'll still be alive. I think I'll be in my 80s. I don't know. My kids maybe it'll be passed down to them. But it's supposed to be open in 2050. So I'll have to find that exact quote. And basically what I heard is it exposes everything he couldn't expose. So here, like with what I feel I've been tasked with, I'm exposing all that I can. But it'll be interesting to see what that's all about, right?
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious why he picked 2050. As the open date. Was there a significance to that, you think?
He might have wanted his great-grandkids to be much, much older, to get it. He maybe through the use of some of these chronovision technologies, even maybe looking glass, because there's positive uses of it. Maybe they saw that was a time where it was much safer to disclose this. Maybe he was waiting for certain family members to die off. Maybe it was like, so I don't know if this was before or after he knew a lot would get exposed in not his grandkids' generation, but maybe the next one.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I have so many questions. I don't know why he chose that date. But maybe that would have been a time where he considered a greater breakthrough, a greater permission to share this kind of stuff. And I think that we've all beat it to the chase, and we started way sooner. But I think it's going to expose maybe even more, or we'll just see that, wow, okay, this is where one can see how close to the truth we could get. considering that, like, hopefully what he shared was the absolute truth. And I would think if it was in a time capsule, that that's exactly what it was. I mean, all he could really do is warn us in his final speech. The rest of it is left. And what he said in the speech is a knowledgeable and aware citizenry. So however much we've all dug into what has really gone on, and there's just multiple levels and layers of it all beyond any one person, any one president, any one administration, going all the way back to just our galactic history, the Anunnaki, what has happened to this planet, what's happened to our DNA. I mean, I think we've done a really amazing job. I think that was just it might have been a recommendation, but yeah, we were all going to come in and do our thing for sure. And if the migration time is 1952, including a lot of other dates, you know, those are people that are now almost 70. So, you know, and 1952 and beyond, right? So it would be a continual flow of, you know, individuals that I mean, that's when the process begun. So that's something to definitely read about. There's so much to get into about that. Yeah.
Right.
No, I was just going to say, the year 2050, could that be an arranged time with whoever or whatever he was communicating with, that they agreed on this date because maybe something has been released before then, and that gives time for that information to come out. So when it's 2050, it's not as much of a shock as what it possibly would have been if it was done in, say, the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, I do think he probably got the advice from probably Val Thor even. I mean, there's a lot of communication and connection between Eisenhower and Val Thor, starting in like 1952. People talk about the VIP status at the Pentagon way later, towards the end of his administration. And yeah, like by the time that gets disclosed, that's going to just help refine all the information that's already been put out there. How can anybody argue? So I feel like we've just warmed humanity up for something that'll be a little bit more solidified and a little bit more like grounded as far as, okay, well, how can one dispute this? This was put in place. And I don't think there's a whole lot that people can dispute with what we're sharing. But yeah, I mean, I'm surprised it's so far off, honestly. But yeah, I mean, it's not from happening. So yeah, just like what you said, it could be just perfect.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, but I mean, nothing's really perfect. It's just, it is what it is. We're here for soul and spiritual development and to wake up, but it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be comfortable. So.
No, thank you. Update from Project Umbra, the Hatman project. When he said the Hatman attacked him and his sister, it was closer to an alien abduction than a ghost experience.
Oh, wow. So his sister was attacked?
Yeah. Yep. That's what you said earlier.
Oh.
So it's the thing is, we don't know what any of these things are, do we? We need to find what the connection is between everything.
Yeah, no, I want to explore that more. And yeah, he'd be an interesting person. I mean, is it still going on? Was it like a singular attack? Is it just something that keeps going on? I mean, I don't know.
No, I'll wait for him to reply to that, if that's okay.
Yeah. I hope that, yeah, she's doing better. That no fun to be attacked.
No, not with something that you
can
do anything about.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of unusual creatures and gateways that are open, and there's so much, taking place on the astral. As we're moving into higher earth energies, we're really moving through a very thick sort of astral plane energy, right? Where people are having very legit dreams that feel real and a lot of attack. I mean, when we really step it up and we begin to get out of reach of being fed upon and having this vampiric inverted sort of draconian system be able to take our energy and use it in order to create the artificial timelines, the psychic attack and the warfare increases. So sometimes it's just like, okay, got to kind of brave through like this heavy layer. Because when we look at the astral plane, that's where a lot of these dark entities and a lot of we see just a mixed bag of, positive and negative, and a lot of so-called positive, benevolent that are actually not, that are false light beings that are tricking people. So it's like a really precarious in veil or dimensional level to move through, but it's also where we're very creative, right? So we want to see the creative imagination and or like how we can arm ourselves, like how to be the override frequency or become senior to these lower entities. It's like major boot camp on our like unearthing our greater gifts and abilities, right? Because they've been so shut down and so dormant that when we're really being threatened, it's like, wow, if we can overcome the fear, if we can really like tap into our ability to command our space and our protection, and and I mean, it's a lot to need to call forth, but that's sort of the challenge of these times, because there's a lot just so embedded in our culture that it's not even about the fourth or the astral plane. It's the gatekeepers that we meet in our everyday life too. It's just, as multidimensional beings, we're getting hit from all angles, and it goes even beyond 4D. A lot of the programmings, come from very higher densities or dimensions. When you look at like the fallen angels, they came from like the avatar consciousness or like Lyra. And so to get into the 0 point unified field, I feel is the ultimate, because it's not just enough to switch on the 12 strands. We got to get into that 0 point and find that neutrality. And we are like being tasked with like being major spiritual athletes, like really going through what we see in mythology of, what it takes to just face the monster and just all the different levels of that. Yeah.
No, thank you. While you're talking about that, one of the questions from Nickname is, I've just noticed it now. But have you ever asked if Laura can remote view or astral travel? Now, I know I've not asked you that before, but so can you?
I'm not like
have you tried?
I wouldn't be. I know a lot of very profound individuals that do that. I wouldn't. I used to do like energy reading, psychic. I mean, I went to a clairvoyant institute, and I do more astrology right now just because I get so energetically whacked in my own sort of like process of exposing things that I'm putting all that like to the side just so I can. So there are a lot of individuals I know that would be able to do that. There's a lot of people that also teach how to remote view, and so I wouldn't be the person, but maybe like eventually. But I'm just taking a break from reading energy and this or that, because if I'm not fully feeling as balanced and as, even though I've had a lot of accuracy and a lot of incredible feedback, it's just me just in case. I wouldn't want to lead anybody astray or like have any sort of, if I open the field of energy up, because I have partners that are targeted to target me. Like I'm sort of like, okay, I had a lot of doors open, and now I'm kind of looking to close a few just so I can manage the human realm. And then once I got that down, and I feel, I'm not such a magnet for some of these intrusions, then does that make sense?
It's not worth the risk, is it really?
No, I'm contending with too much of the warfare right now to want to open all that up, and I wouldn't want to put anybody else in a weird situation. So
no, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, do you want to ask the next question?
Sure.
I'll pop it up now. This is from Andy Byrne.
Andy's asking, what does Laura think about her grandfather's alleged involvement with UFOs and EBEs?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been debunked completely and totally by multiple sources. Alex Collier, Simon Parks, Dan Cooper, the senior advisor to the Earth Alliance. Basically, an unconditional surrender agreement took place in 1952. And that meant that everything went way beyond top secret, not even where the president was able to access anything. And I can just kind of read an example of what Dan Cooper has said. Hold on. And okay, so how did I meet Dan Cooper, and why do I think he is legit? And that's a question that maybe some people are like developing in their mind here. He wrote a comment under a roundtable that I did with Elena Denon and Dan Willis. And Elena had a meeting with Val Thor. I'm a little bit uncertain about what I think about some of the other stuff she brings in, but she's an incredible person. So I wouldn't say that I'm doubting it. I'm just on the fence. So it's not like belief or doubt. It's just sort of, I just don't know. And I hear it. Something tells me just to, not dive into it. Like, I haven't read all her books, but I just love her. I think she's an incredible person. So, but I've only really processed the Val Thor part of what she shares. Cause if I could just dive into it all and there was enough time in a day, I would. But my focus is more like Eisenhower, Val Thor, and just the things that are a little closer to home. Cause I'm not going off on ships, and I wasn't abducted when I was a kid. So what he said, Dan Cooper, and the reason I feel he's legit is because when I did that video in that roundtable with Elena and Dan, he writes in the comments, like, what, some of this is not quite accurate. This is actually what happened. And I wrote to him in the comments, I'm like, can we talk? Like, you clearly know what you're talking about. And I gave him my email. He messaged me right away. And for about 2 years, we were having a back and forth. And I was surprised, as being a person that doesn't want money, that's not seeking any fame, that isn't just putting it out there, that is pretty low key, would share all this. And he said he has immunities. But in some of the exchanges, because I was like, are you sure? Like, I keep hearing this, that he signed treaties. So I wasn't just jumping on what he was saying. I was like asking him all the questions. This researcher said this, Phil Schneider said this, William Cooper said this, who are, whistleblowers that said that. And he said, well, whistleblowers aren't going to give them the top secret information. They work for, a certain compartmentalized level of government. They were exposed to certain things. They've exposed a lot of important things, but they had no way to access the stuff about Eisenhower. So a lot of the dark agenda was to convince whistleblowers and anybody working for them that it wasn't them, it was Ike. And that's why we hear a lot of stories from legitimate sources that are very well-intentioned. Because I asked him about that. But anyway, he said, as I already explained to you before, MJ-12 had the only legal authority to do that, which is sign treaties or agreements with ET alien species, according to the terms of the unconditional surrender instrument signed by Truman and all of Congress on July 19th, 1952. So that was the same date that the UFOs flew over. Dwight had no such power whatsoever when he assumed that position. His powers to negotiate or to sign such treaties or agreements with any ET species had already legally been passed on to MJ-12. So that was one of like many sources. And he goes like way into depth. When I mentioned like, these other whistleblowers, I mean, I could just quote him directly about what he said. And I quote William Cooper a lot because, of course, I don't, just because somebody doesn't have it 100%, nobody will. So I gather as many different voices as I possibly can and hope that, whoever's reading it can just see what their intuition tells them. I mean, that's what I'm hoping for in this time of disclosure, that we put all ego to the side and it's just like, all right, let's just have a greater conversation. I mean, it just kind of sucks because I'm a relative, so I'm just going to get the brunt of blame and anger from people that think that he might have done this or that. And same with the starving of millions of Germans, right? There are so many that have debunked this, but I get so much hate mail. And in one book, I can't possibly share the fullness of all the research, especially because so much has come in lately after I kind of finished it. But he said the Dulce Wars takes place in 1979 when Phil Schneider is part of a drill. Okay, so Eisenhower invaded the Dulce underground base way, way earlier, like in 1954. So there was a Dulce invasion under Eisenhower's command, and the Dulce Wars that we hear about with Phil Schneider was way later. So we never hear about that. Why don't we hear about that? Because they don't want to know how much Eisenhower tried to take out the Greys. They want him to be blamed for signing the treaties. So this is a major rumor and lie being cast upon this family that has felt like such a curse, and it's been so heavy. So I love it when people have an open mind, because before, when I was doing presentations, I would expose that. I'd be like, I think he did. I'm not here to defend or be biased, right? Just because I'm born. But when I got all this other information, I'm like, whoa, okay. This sort of appeases what makes more sense to me. Knowing he tried to take out the Nazis, why would he agree to this? But then we got to figure too, the level of technology that they had, then he probably had his hands tied. But this is actually what did not happen, as far as a lot of different people have to say. So when I asked Dan about some of the whistleblowers claiming Ike signed a treaty, like Phil Schneider, he goes, I don't know what Phil Schneider said about Ike, but I suspect that he was merely repeating disinformation. Remember, as an ICC Nazi Draco Alliance tunnel builder, he would personally not have access to such sensitive information. He would have had to hear it from someone else inside, like me. Wait, that means that he was fed disinformation. He was given the party line. The Nazi propaganda ministry spent a lot of money and time ensuring that the American public did not know the Nazis won World War II and that the U.S. surrendered unconditionally to them. So this is why we have the globalist agenda and so many woke people that are falling for it, because they think we won the war and they think this is the progressive path or we're being responsible. In actual fact, that is a part of the greater psyops that came through Paperclip. So this is all important to know. And this is probably, I went way too far on your channel, so I can understand if you want to delete what I just shared.
Oh, not at all.
Oh, well, you might just get a strike, but I hope not. They don't want us to know this.
No. Oh, good. Touch wood. Everything's good.
All right. Well, I just hope, yeah. I hope, yeah. I mean, if you get a strike, it'll expire, but
yeah.
They don't want us to know this stuff, but it's important that we talk about it. And if you do want to take it down and put it on a safer place or platform, I'm sorry if I went too far. I'm just question is the only way I can answer that question. So
no, it's all good. Thank you.
So yeah.
Sorry, I just got a pop up off YouTube. I wondered what it was, but with you saying about getting a strike, I hope it's not that, but it's not. It's something completely different. So good.
Wait, what? What was it again?
I got a notification off YouTube just as you were saying that. So I've just opened it up on the other screen. But I thought, be my luck, it'll be a strike, but it's not.
Oh, you just got a message? A notification?
Yeah. But yeah, it's nothing. No, it's nothing to do with this. So
all right.
Yeah, it's very rare I get messages off YouTube. So
cool.
Anyway, that's it. Right, so next question is from Cal Ridley, and she would like to know, does Laura know anything about the secret space project other than what you've already told us with the super soldiers and
I mean, there's so many levels. There's like so many levels. Yeah, I mean, it's I'm kind of where everybody else is at, just finding out, right? It's like interviewing Tony Rodriguez, Daryl James. Daryl James is somebody else, like, wow, to definitely listen to. I come across clients and friends that are uncovering memories and that have been used as assets. There's Rebecca Rose, and these are like advanced souls that are weaponized to like fight the good guys and be an asset in these greater galactic wars because they're targeted for their abilities, right? So if you're like an intuitive empath or you have like special psychic abilities or you're a healer, like a really extraordinary, like advanced soul type healer, very often that those are the ones that are pulled in if they're recognized as being related to a military family or Illuminati family. But Tony Rodriguez's story is very different. He was targeted because he made fun of a kid that was connected to an Illuminati father, and the father, out of revenge, pulled him into the program. And his book is unbelievable. So I'm interviewing him soon, and yeah, I don't know if you guys have had him on, but it's pretty wild.
Not yet.
I actually have him on tomorrow.
What's that?
I have him on tomorrow on one of my shows.
Oh, you do? I'm interviewing him tomorrow, so obviously it's different times. It's so funny.
I'm not interviewing him, but I reckon if I was, it would have been tomorrow.
The most benevolent, the most benevolent, I would say, is the Earth Alliance, and then you got Solar Warden, then you got many levels and layers. Dark Fleet is the dark Nazi one. Michael Sala talks about the 10 different levels, and I've quoted him before on this. But there's like 10 layers to all of this, and he, in one of his books, talked about the 10 different levels. I just can't quite name them all, and some are like total military industrial complex, others not so much. So he sort of differentiates between those that are in service to others and those that aren't, and and how accurate it is. I mean, I think he's a really great scholar and researcher. Some people don't appreciate his material because he aligned with somebody that people question, but a journalist is a journalist. You're going to report, you're going to share. It doesn't mean you're aligned, but you're getting out as much information as possible, and he's done an incredible job, I mean, with all the information he's put out. So that's a really good resource to find out about all the different levels and layers. But it's so vast.
Cheers.
I got a question. I'm curious your opinion on, Laura, is with the timelines merging through and the wars going on over the timelines. Do you think that's why the Mandela effect is becoming more and more prevalent? And what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's, CERN, right? And all that. And yeah, so you got your artificial timeline, you got your organic ascension timeline. And right now I feel that both are kind of like merged, because there's a lot of bridging between those that are going to jump on like the right ship, right? Like I feel like two tracks are moving in a very like connected trajectory, because right, there's a lot of individuals that want to help humans like see what's really happening, and so there's a lot of room and opportunity for them to just jump on board. It's sort of like when you see somebody in an abusive relationship, and you see all the red flags and they're not ready to see them. And then finally they're like, okay, now I see it. There's still plenty of opportunity to break up with that person. But the more invested you are, the stickier it is, right? They might not want to let you go so easily, the more you stay involved. So the ones that are really immersed, it's going to take a little while. But I feel that, even if there is a split, people talk about a bifurcation, there's a bridging that's happening, because there's going to be a certain point where it's going to be really, really difficult to occupy the same timeline as those that are getting more and more assimilated. If there's the next wave of all the stuff that we've already experienced, which Simon Parks doesn't think is going to manifest, it's just going to be a lot harder. So there is a strong likelihood that the numbers of people that have jumped on board with the real organic ascension, which to me is human advancement, switching our dormant DNA on, coming together in more unity, overriding the divide and conquer, and the greater social engineering weaponry, which to me is a prerequisite for the dark weapons to even work. Like, you have to buy into the bait for the dark weapons to work. If you're not buying into the lower vibration of divide and conquer, and like getting a sex change or allowing your kid, when you're a little kid, I mean, just all the different things, all the psyops, all the false movements. If you're able to see through that, I feel that the weapons don't work as well. I mean, we're all exposed to it. We've been breathing in chemtrails. We're dealing with spike proteins. We're dealing with, tainted food, right? The vibration of being awake and true to yourself and connected to a more unified way of perceiving the world, that to me dismantles the dark weaponry and transmutes things and alchemizes things. So, and I think that's why I have a lot of faith in the fact that when people do switch out or snap out of the trance, they'll be able to assimilate or work out a lot of the different things that they put in their body or they've ingested. Because I mean, look at all of us. We've been through so many dark cycles of history. Look at the MK Ultra people and the SRA survivors that have overcome and found love and unity, and they're on board, and they're able to see if they're being pulled back in and call it out. There's a very rare number that are able to do that, but that just shows the power of the human spirit, and that's what this ascension window is about. So I feel it's merged because there needs to be a lot of sharing of those frequencies and those breakthroughs, and and just keep the resource there, as much as they're trying to shut us up and shut us down. And then as it splits and splits, I still see a bridge, but there's going to be some that are like done and they're moving on, whether because a lot of people are not continuing in the physical vessel, and it's nothing to be afraid of. It's just, they might just want to move through the gateways, like not in this physical body. And there's some that are advancing their physical body. So it doesn't matter, as long as you move through the gates, whether it's your soul without your physical vessel and you get a new one later, or you go up on a ship, and because they do have our DNA logged, at least Valthor and the Venus ships do, in order for us to heal from pretty much anything, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like, it's dependent on the soul and what their agreements are. And you can change your agreements along the way. I think a lot of people are still invested in doing all they can. They're going to be witness to and observant of, and maybe even impacted by, just like Maui and just like other locations. But in that, what does their consciousness take with them when they die? That's why we got to prepare ourselves, whether we live through it or don't. We're here for soul development, and we want to not repeat the same thing and have to come back and learn again. And so I think that's the most important thing to focus on. And until then, I see them merged, I see the split, but I see a bridge, if that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got 3 more questions. Is that okay? We're on 1 hour 15.
Yes, I got to get off I have 15 more minutes. I just have to, jump on another thing.
Yeah. You did say so. That's why I'm giving you a time call. So cool. Right, we'll do these 3 questions. No more after this, unless we've got a couple of minutes left, and then either me or Michael. So
I
this
can
is
try and
from
answer
Nick.
these quicker.
Yeah. So this is from Nickname. What does Laura think of the latest UFO Congress?
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, Steve Trees is put in as well. What does Laura think of disclosure? So we can do them 2 together.
Cool. I think the latest one was, really important. One of my good friends, Robert Earl White, who I interviewed afterwards, was there. And it was interesting because the UFO crash in Nevada happened right around that time. It was getting way more coverage than the actual UFO Congress, right? And I think that's sometimes a clear indication that they don't want you to be looking over there. Stephen Greer, I used to have a lot of reservations about. I never say that in a judgmental way. It's just like we just have to have our discernment and stay in the vibration of like mutual love and respect. Just because he never would say that there were negative aliens or ETs, and that's just I just can't. Like, that's just not what I feel. And there's no negative without a solution. So it's not like, we've needed a big catalyst in a lot of ways, but it doesn't excuse, the evils. But at the same time, I see some of the abduction scenarios as a dying race or a compromised race that were enslaved by the Draconians that have looked to get their genetic material back because they lost their soul matrix and their reproductive abilities. So there's so many different levels of that and so many different types of races. So I just felt like there wasn't enough thoroughness, but then I see why and his position and why he's had to be very, very careful. So I feel a lot better about him, but I've never met him. I've met a lot of people in this community, but I think it was really important. I think anybody bringing this out is, really important. The most important thing, though, is I feel, and this is what I emphasize, is that we work on ourselves, that we have ET genetics. We are multidimensional beings. We have higher harmonic universes in our DNA, and we need to prepare for whatever's to come, but with a lot more willingness to meet it with like caution. And I feel that the more people are able to tell their stories that aren't just the researchers trying to maybe create a narrative or define it, the more we hear from the actual experiencers and abductees, which I feel they brought to the table, like the better off we are. And then the ones that are the researchers can, bring, like, what is your assessment of it? And that's kind of what I got. I wasn't there. I haven't heard it all, but I just got a good feeling about it. And as far as disclosure, as long as it's not manipulated disclosure, and when it feels like that because there's some fake alien invasion or some positive first contact, whatever it is that we see on the world stage, let's make sure that the ones that have been censored, the ones that have been in this field for a long time, that they're listened to and paid attention to when they assess what might come down the pike on the world stage, that we keep our eyes and ears open, because the chances of a false disclosure, as long as who's in office, and as long as we just really, just need to engage in this much larger conversation and look to as many sources as possible and not narrow our view for the biggest one that comes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Michael, anything to add before we do the last question?
No, other than something that we were talking about backstage, but we can do that after the question.
Yeah. That's cool. Right, so this is the last question. This is from Matt Atkinson. He'd like to know, Laura, is there an earthbound presence of different species of extraterrestrials?
Say that again?
Is there an earthbound presence of different species of extraterrestrials?
I think there's so many hybrids. I mean, there's a lot of breeding programs, a lot of different types of breeding programs. So you got a lot of that, right? And then, I mean, reptilian, Draco hybrids. Have I ever seen anybody shapeshift? I've never been a part of a ritual. I mean, if I was, it was in a lifetime. I do not remember. So I can't say firsthand, but the people that I've talked to, the people that were there, and in underground bases, they've worked alongside ETs, and different like energies open for them to be able to come and go, right? Do they stay here? Are they amongst us? I mean, I feel a lot are in these underground bases and they work side by side with humans. And most of the whistleblowers that I've talked to say that that's the case. They've seen all of this. On the surface level, it seems like there's terraforming or something going on with the chemtrails. But there's also like how that could create holographic images that look like a fake alien invasion, but also it's connected to weather modification. So it's everything that's false, I feel, is like a part of that. And I feel that that's part of the alien agenda, where they actually exist. I think the hybrids are more on the Earth level, and where the species that hybridize with humans exist is either underground or off planet. And now that they can't enter anymore, I think that there's a certain portion that's locked in, but there's a lot of hybrids.
Right.
And I think that for the most part, there's a lot of positive ones, but there are ones that I've researched are like looking to seem like they're on our side, but they're not. So yeah, oh my goodness, lots of fun down here on the human world. It's like not human, right? So the whole illusion of like being human and that limited perspective of what the unawakened people experience is so different than what it really is when we just kind of like see. And the biggest place that I learn everything is from my clients and the people that because they're not like out there just like sharing a story, you know, they're like confiding in me. And if it corroborates with somebody that's put their story out that I know is like doing what they feel called to do to share it, it's like, whoa, okay, this is giving even more reality to it. And I'm not saying that anybody's out there sharing a false story, but you know, when I get a bunch of clients saying the same thing as somebody out there is saying, and I help them connect, it's like, it grounds it a little bit more for me than, because I know some people have, I don't like the CG guy. He said on the stand that he made it all up. Right. And so there is some of that. But I think, you know, that as things accelerate and as the truth becomes more known, that frequency, like people are falling away, like lies can't really exist in that vibration. The more of us that hold it, the much harder it is for falsities to thrive, because they'll expire, and it relies on our belief for it to even exist. So I feel like those things are crumbling and the truth is rising. And in that truth, we'll find that there's a lot of starseeds. There's a lot of representatives of higher benevolent groups that are like in human form. And there are a lot of, you know, hybrids. And as that all expands, I feel it's going to shine light on the things that are nefarious. And that's our trajectory right now.
Yep. No, thank you.
I wish I could answer these things a little quicker and shorter.
No, he's fine. No, the more detail, the better. The better understanding we get.
Cool.
So I do appreciate it.
Yeah, always quality over quantity.
Yes,
okay,
definitely.
And again, it's just my assessment. You know, it's just how I process things.
No, totally get it. But there's only 7 minutes left. So do you want to wrap it up now? Give you time to get ready for your next one?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Is that all right? So massive thank you again for coming on. Hopefully you will come on in March, April, once the book's out.
That'd be awesome. Anytime.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate it.
Sorry, it's a little bit more distracted than normal.
It's fine, honestly. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I really... Well, go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say, I wanted to point out that you can see Laura at the Alien Event Conference coming up and the GSIC Conference coming up.
Oh, yeah, I'll be at Alien Event. I'll be at it's the same thing, September 14th, I believe, to 17th. And then I'll be in Mount Shasta. It's like this homecoming, like a bunch of Chinese people are coming. And then there's Disclosure Event. I'm so bad at remembering to talk about the things I'm doing. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of things, and I have my website updated, so you can check that out, cosmicgaia.org. I also do subscriptions, and when you subscribe, it really helps me to continue doing what I do. I'm not funded by anybody but the people. And what comes with the subscription is discounted sessions, Zoom meetings where I do mini sessions for people where we all just talk about where we're at and help you navigate your astro chart. And it comes with other interviews and podcasts that I don't share for free because I just can't do it all for free and continue to do this. So your support means so much to me.
No, thank you. We're just putting some links up for the website and the alien event at Biston. So they're all going to be in the chat and on screen. So
Sweet.
it's all good. And once the book's out, if you could send me a link to the book, and then I can add it either to this one, or I can even put it on my own website if you want and share it that way.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, it's already up for pre-sale on Amazon. Just look up Awakening the Truth Frequency for right now.
Right. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. I shall let you go then.
Okay,
So,
that's awesome. Okay. I've really enjoyed being on. Thank you for having me. And thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll see you next time.
No, been a pleasure. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Awesome. All right. You too.
Cheers, Laura. Bye-bye.
Right, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
There we go. That was Laura. So, anything you want to add before we close it down?
Just want to say thank you for allowing me to come on and co-host with you. Always a pleasure.
More than welcome. As long as I can sort it out, it's all good.
Right. And I'd offer you a co-host spot, but I know it's wee hours of the morning where I'm at, so
if you did a Saturday night, it won't be so bad.
You know, I may have to, because I have one guest I got to pre-record, and so I may be doing it on a day where it's on a Saturday, and so I may see. It's one of your guests, actually, George Mitrovic.
Ah, yes, the man himself. He's actually on in he's Australia, New South Wales. So he is on the 30th. He's on next week. He's on a week today. So so there's him and hopefully Chris Meek from Scottish Paranormal Podcast. Just quickly before I forget, on Friday, as I said earlier in the show, that we've got Maria Wheatley coming on. Now Maria does a lot of the Stonehenge. She does the tours around Avebury, all that area. But I'm going to be doing another show after that one is finished, because on the Saturday morning, there's a few of us that are going up to Cannock Chase. We're going black-eyed kid hunting, basically.
Are you sure you want to do that?
No, not really, but someone's got to do it. No, so we're doing an overnight at Cannock. We've getting there, probably get there for around 12 midday. We're going to be there for roughly 24 hours and doing a meet-up and that. And then we're doing a nighttime investigation. So I'll do all the updates on Friday after Maria's been on. So that will be, call it 10:30 Friday. So that'll be what? 4:30 your time?
Let's
6
see.
hours?
4:30, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be 6 hours. So it's only going to be about half an hour. Just talk through what we're doing when we get there and what platforms are going to be using when we do the investigation. So, and that's it.
Wow.
So thank you again so much for coming on. Thank you, Laura. I know you've gone, but I'm going to be sending you an email in about 10 minutes anyway, because there's something that I need to ask her. Just didn't get a chance to do it while I was on air. So this is also going out to Michael's YouTube channel, so you can watch this on there as well. It should be going out on Facebook. It's saying it's ticked at the top, but I'm not sure if anything's gone through on Facebook. I've not seen anything.
I can check real quick.
No, everything just seems to be YouTube. So that's it. Oh, and Graham Phillips, who was supposed to be on last week, he's definitely coming back on, but it's not until later on in the year because I haven't got any availabilities left. So that's all organised. He's going to be coming on and talking about the mysterious island of Doggerland. So that's it. Is there anything you'd like to add before we go?
Just like you were mentioning, being busy with shows. I have my new series, Writing Through the Unknown, under the Energy That Surrounds Us channel, tomorrow with Tony Rodriguez. And then Monday, I have a show with Kathy Tierney Cogliano, which I know you know her. She and I went to Egypt together, and so we're going to do an episode all about our experiences in Egypt Monday afternoon. And then Tuesday, I'm with Annette Luvano King. She does ghosts and getaways, and she investigates domestic and international. So that should be a fun show. And then we have Dave Hodrian on Paranormal Versus.
You stole him before I could get him on. How dare you?
All fair podcasting.
No. I got to meet him last weekend, so
I know. I was
he's a really nice guy. He really is. I think it was him and his missus. So don't forget to ask him the question that you wrote down.
It right here.
There we go. Right. So we are now done. Thank you everyone for joining us. Sorry it was a little bit up and down throughout, but that's the internet for you sometimes. It's just how it goes. Thank you everyone again that's listening on podcast. Please do, like Laura was just saying about Patreon, signing up, subscribing to the YouTube channel. It really does help. It helps us go out and go to better places and do better investigations, and just the overall running of the show, the website, and all that. Because as you guys know, same as what Laura was saying, I don't get any support from anyone. Everything I do, I'm paying this myself. So every little bit helps. And thank you to the person that did a super chat earlier. Really appreciate it. So that's it. Thanks everyone in the chat. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Joe and Nickname for doing the modding. And hopefully we'll see you guys on Friday. Same time, same place. Have a great 48 hours and see you then. Take care, everyone. And goodbye.